Hey, you're working a job, or maybe two, because you got to pay the bills. But on the side, you've got a business as an entrepreneur, maybe as a creator, maybe as something else. You want to take your side hustle to startup levels of success? Well, you're in the right place. That's what I did over 10 years ago. And now, thousands of students across the world later, that's what I want to help you to do too. Hi, this is Stacey Storino, and welcome to Side Hustle to Startup, my Side Hustle to Startup podcast. I've been an attorney since 1998, an entrepreneur otherwise for 25 years, and a business coach for the last 10 years. My goal is to help you go from tiny to mighty with your side hustle so that you can leave that long day job that maybe you want to leave, or put away all the gaggle of side gigs and side jobs so that you can focus solely on your own business full time if that's what you want. If you've got 45 seconds and you want a free and useful tip guide to help you make sure that your entrepreneurial journey is kicked off right, you'll want to pick up a guide that's filled with snackable size tips, and you can find it at don'tbeafakeguru.com. It's all one word, the website, don'tbeafakeguru.com. And with it, you'll know that your brand presence, whatever you're maintaining right now, is a successful one, whether you're looking to be a guru per se or not. If you've got a brand, you're a brand leader, and that means you're a guru, my friend. So embrace it and do it right with my guide to increase the business conversions that you can enjoy. Anyway, I created the Side Hustle to Startup podcast to give you simple, easy, actionable steps so that you can go from a super crazy busy life where your business is nothing but a side hustle right now, perhaps, to helping you grow with these tips, with this advice in a very realistic way while you're living an otherwise busy life so that you can take your side hustle to startup levels of success. Each podcast covers typically a quick point about what's going on in the world today that would affect you as a business owner and how it relates to you specifically as an entrepreneur doing your organic content marketing, and why that point matters to you without any fluff, without any spin, and what you can do about it. And we'll also cover in each podcast episode, usually, a tip to help you in terms of your financial offense as an entrepreneur, and a tip to get you to double down on entrepreneurial financial defense so that this way, every single day, every single podcast episode, I can help you to move closer to your goal of startup type success. So you're in the right place, my friend. Let's get started. Okay, so this particular podcast episode is a bit unusual because we're going to be covering my origin story, but in a way where me is dull, 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 as the saying goes. I'm just going to share with you some facts about myself and my background so that you know that with every episode of Side Hustle to Startup, the podcast, you are in good hands, that you are talking to somebody who's been where you've been and may in some ways currently be where you are now. And that I'm not talking from way up in the clouds. I'm way down in the dirt with y'all. I'm living real life. I don't live in a mansion or McMansion. I do not have a maid or a butler. I don't have someone to do my food shopping for me or anything like that. Not right now, for sure, but that's okay. So if you're an everyday real person like me too, and you don't have a village to help you support everything you do personally and or professionally, you're definitely in the right place. Okay, so when I talk to you about my not having like a village to help me personally and or professionally, you should know when I say I'm down in the dirt with everyday real people and not way up in the sky, I was born into welfare and my mother was a single mother. She got us out of welfare definitely by the time I started kindergarten, but life was never too much better than that since as we grew up. as us kids grew up, because she ended up having two other kids along the way and getting married and all that along the way. So didn't get off the jump, having an easy life. And that's okay. So you don't have to be born into welfare, but if you're like, I don't have a silver spoon in my mouth, I can't stand it when people give me like smarmy advice that real people, who may not have much money, or they do have some, but they have to be careful. Let me tell you, I'm all about starting from tiny and going mighty myself. I put myself through college. Okay. I worked my way through college, and I graduated college cum laude and a semester early. And then when I came home, I just moved out on my own, got an apartment, got work as a paralegal, and I worked 40 to 60 hours a week. I'm in the state of New York. Okay. And what happened after that? Well, I decided I was going to go to law school, because I sat there with the partner I was working for mainly. And I said to him one day at lunch, no offense, I'm at least as smart as the people that I'm working for here, including you, buddy. And we both laughed. And he said, you absolutely should go to law school. I'm just begging you to stay with us as a paralegal and go at night. So you're probably going to go 4 years at night instead of 3 years during the day. Well, again, I didn't have any family members to give me money, pay for me to go through school, even co-sign loans. Like, they couldn't even co-sign loans in college. So I'd worked since the day I turned 16, and like babysat and did stuff for cash before that. But I was on the books since literally the day I turned 16 years old, went to work in the mall. So if you're like, I've had to hustle, I've had to work twice as hard to get half as much, Stacey Storino knows, because she's been there too, right? And, I'm not a victim, I'm a victor. And I ask you, if I'm going to give you a tip today during my origin story, to take that attitude and beatitude. Nevertheless, she persisted, he persisted, they persisted. That's the attitude and beatitude that you need to have. So I did go to law school at night. I worked my way through law school. College, I just put on credit cards and I paid off as I went. So I had to work my way through college, work full time or more during the summer. I was they would call you overemployed back then. I don't know if back in the 80s we were using that terminology, but I would definitely be working one, if not two jobs, and at least one full time. And do whatever else I needed to do, because I had to clean off my credit cards to go back to state school the next year, because nobody could co-sign a loan for me. Nobody got on my loan applications. I had to do it myself, which is fine. I think that when you pay for stuff yourself, it means more and you're less likely to squander any of it. So that's fine. Okay. So then I worked my way through law school. There, I was old enough, I was over 21 years old, I could sign the loans myself. So I took on the loans to go to law school, because it was way more expensive than going to state school, as you might imagine. That was a nearly multiple six-figure investment. And I went to law school at night. I worked 40 to 60 hours a week for, the 4 years that I went. When I wasn't in law school over the summers, I would DJ and I would eBay, because back then there was no Poshmark or anything like that. There really was just eBay. eBay was new. I cleaned out every closet, every drawer, everything that I could, parted with anything that I could, and I made money. Okay, so I was still kind of quote unquote overemployed every single one of the summers, that I went to law school. I even did some of that while I did a legal internship, my junior going into senior year that summer. So overemployment is more of a term that's used now when you are working like 80 hours or more a week. You're working two jobs, or the functional equivalent of two full-time jobs, or maybe your side hustle that you want to grow to start up levels of success. In your case, maybe that is something that is one up to full-time job while you're working another full-time job, for sure, let's say, for example, so you can pay your bills and maybe, fingers crossed, even have benefits for yourself and your family if you have one. So of course I graduated law school, And I remained overemployed for several years. So I could finish paying off any credit card debt that I had from college. I didn't have much. And I was paying that down and off along the way that last year. Um, and because I was living on my own, so I had to pay for an apartment and everything. And I might have been dating, but nobody lived with me until ultimately my husband did. So I went years paying all my bills, keeping up with all my income, all my taxes, and working 60, 70, 80 hours a week at the end of the day. When I got out of law school, especially a first through fifth year lawyer, you may know this, but if you don't, the American Bar Association says the average attorney works 60 to 80 hours a week, not including their commutation time. So, yeah, I'd say that's about right. And a first year, they would work you a bit harder because odds were you were younger, you didn't have a family yet. Maybe you were getting married or you were married, but you didn't have kids or dependents or elder care yet, usually. So they worked you extra. I know what 100-hour work weeks look like. Billable hours, I know what that looks like. And I still managed to eBay in the crevices, flip stuff for friends and relatives and split the profits with them. People would usually pay for the shipping and handling, so I didn't have to lay out for that. And when I could, I DJ'd. I DJ'd weddings. I DJ'd a housewarming party. I DJ'd baby showers. I DJ'd bars. There was one point along the line where I DJ'd not one, not two, but three bars. Some were in Putnam County, New York, and one was in Dutchess County, New York. And I eBayed through the cracks and crevices of my day. And I was a first through fifth year lawyer. I did pay off quite a bit of law school, but not all of it during that period of time because, again, along the way, had to buy and pay off a car. I'd been driving a junker, but I got a new car and paid that off. And I've not had a car loan since. Those are the worst, even when you have good credit. I highly recommend, this is not financial advice per se. It's issue spotting, I should say. If you pay off a car, do not get another one. Drive that thing till forever and really invest money in the proper maintenance and repair of it. Those things brand new lose about a quarter of their value rolling off the lot. Cars are not great investments that you're going to make back your money on. As an entrepreneur, you really want to free up money to invest into your business to scale it and grow it, however you might need to do it, depending upon the business model that it is. And you don't want any other drains on your time, any other unnecessary drains on your time. So I put my pride aside. I bought that car new. I didn't drive junkers after that. But once I paid it off, it was done. And all the DJing and the eBaying helped me pay off a 5-year loan within 3 years. So again, if you're like, nobody can help me, nobody can co-sign anything, nobody can give me money, I have to walk uphill both ways just to get through the day. Girl, guy, person, I've been there. You do want to listen to somebody like me with this podcast moving forward because I'm a real person. Like I said, not up in the clouds, down in the dirt with y'all, and it's fine. So college I paid off, my car I paid off 2 years early, any furniture inside, outside my house, anything I paid off before I finally, got engaged, got married, bought a house, and I remained overemployed, DJing, eBaying, tag selling, anything I could do on top of working full time as an attorney with full time income and benefits. And then, once I had enough for 20% down on the house that my husband and I and our family, our son, along with us now, lives in, we put 20% down. We paid the closing costs and the attorney's fees out of pocket. Finally, I said, no more, working crazy like this. I want to enjoy my home. I want to enjoy my life. I want to enjoy my marriage. And we had to go through fertility treatment. We cash flowed all that. And eventually, a year and a half into fertility treatment, month in, month out, I wouldn't give up. So again, your life's not easy. Mine was never either. I finally had the one child that I could have. And my husband and I were very grateful, and he's awesome. And now he's a teenager. So we've had our home and our family and our marriage and our life for a long, long time. I'm not some kid, with a year or two's worth of business experience, and now I'm perpetrating as though I'm some sort of expert. Oh no. Oh no. I've amassed a lot of wisdom personally and professionally through the decades. I'm still a practicing lawyer with an active and very clean license, thank goodness, to practice law in the state of New York. It's been, while this episode is being shot live, 25 years, which seems crazy, but the time does fly. I went out on my own as an attorney and did solo practice work and per diem work for other firms many years ago, just so I could be more present for my husband and our son. But we had a life that we could totally afford. Everything seemed fine, right? The coast was clear. Stacey didn't have to do what's called overemployment anymore. Along the way, I said, sparing you all the gory details, along the way, I had people come to me. In the beginning, it was mostly female attorneys. I know you did big firm life and you did really well. Give me advice so that I am not mommy tracked. I can get on the partner track, or I feel like I have a hostile work environment. What can I do about it? I'm being reverse discriminated against by my paralegal, who's also female. She doesn't like having a female attorney. This happens more than you think, or allegedly, there's a lot of allegations that this happens more than one thing. Hey, sometimes the attorneys can be brats too. I know that because I was a paralegal for 6 years when I went to law school at night, remember? So the bottom line is, a lot of people came to me for advice. Some people were like, I want to spin off and have my own solo practice like you do for the same or at least similar reasons. And then I would have some female attorneys through the years come to me and say, I don't want to do law anymore. I want to phase myself out. I know you did that. Can you give me advice to at least phase to my own thing, but it wouldn't be a solo practice? I want to have an Etsy shop. I remember the first time somebody said that to me, I was like, what's an Etsy? That was a literal question that I asked. So if you know what Etsy is, you're laughing, right? But once I helped her, this particular female attorney that wanted to get into sewing, well, she actually did so. She had a sewing machine. She wanted an Etsy shop. She wanted to create stuff. And she really just wanted to work from home. She'd do some per diem stuff for other firms to bootstrap while she built up her side hustle to start up, which I helped her do, and successfully. Then she was telling her friends, relatives, acquaintances, neighbors, kids, parents, spousal connections, coworkers, past and or present. So she and other people like her started to send more people towards me, mostly female, but eventually I started to have males as well. It was the same or similar thing. How do I get away from my full-time job so that I can do what I want to do, but I have to pay bills or I have to contribute into the household bills? So it's a little trickier than if I'm a tween or a teen or a super young adult living at home for maybe free, maybe completely free with my family, or cover your own phone bill and your own car payments and gas and stuff. But otherwise, you don't have to worry about utilities, son, daughter, child. We'll take care of it. That's not my situation. I'm a full-blown adult. I may be taking care of my parents. I may be taking care of my child or children. I may have a marriage or a coupledom that I have to protect. So I can't just, because I live in the real world, I'm down in the dirt like you, Stace. I'm not rich up in the privileged clouds. How do I cover all my bills? How do I keep my credit? How do I keep the big wheel turning while I'm growing something on the side, whether they use the terminology side hustle to start up or not? And how do I do that so I don't really compound the debt that I may already be trying to pay down, or the rent, the mortgage, the daily expenses that I know I have to cover? I can't chip away from that at all or much. I can look at my budget, maybe. I can come out with a couple $100s a month, and maybe in the beginning that'll help. But Stacey, help me even do that, because you've done it at that point for years on your own. So that's how about 10 years ago, I became a business coach. I actually got certified as a coach, the whole thing, business write-off. I wrote the certification off against my income, and I started to really have a fair amount of income from that. So as time went on, the coaching business built up until it became a 6 and near multiple 6-figure business. And I kept up. I'm a lawyer with my legal compliance and tax stuff, you know. Um, so of course, if you're keeping up with all that, you're not keeping all the money you'd like, especially if you live in New York like I do. But that's okay. But a couple of years ago, without getting too into it, I was hospitalized several times over a period of years. We had decent insurance. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. It covered a lot. And thank God for that, because putting aside what we could cash flow as we went through those years, because we could cash flow some things, we couldn't cash flow everything that wasn't just covered by insurance. So after about 4 or 5 years, while keeping up with everything else and keeping good credit, I will say we ended up racking up $120,000 in credit card debt, revolving credit card debt. Now, this is years ago when the interest was cheap and we had good credit scores, my husband and I, across the board. So we're not getting killed with extra interest because we're some sort of a risk. I was making good money as an attorney, then an attorney and a business coach, and then an attorney as a business coach, getting up to 6 figures and then almost multiple 6 figures. Okay. While I'm balancing a marriage and a child, and I'm the primary caretaker of the child. My husband's an entrepreneur too. He owns a food service establishment in New York. That's a multiple award-winning business. Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill. That's a 7-figure success. And I helped him with content marketing and business coaching from 2016, where he was profitable, but not greatly. So he was seriously thinking about selling the business in 2015 because it was an awful lot of work for the money that he was making. Within 2 years, we took it to 7-figure levels of success. No paid ads, all organic content marketing. And I was doing for him what I was doing for myself. I tootled around with paid ads, but I'm like, I don't want to. I just want to do organic. I'm getting plenty of business for just me. At the time, it was just me. Through the years, I've grown myself into having a designer and a video editor for my YouTube channel and my other video-based content marketing. So fine, great. But at the end of the day, the expenses, the overhead's getting bigger and bigger, And now I've been in the hospital several times, and now we have all this extra debt. And yes, through the last several years, while keeping up with what I have to cover in the family, my husband covers what he has to cover in the family, while keeping my business in the black, even still having a designer a couple hours a week and a video editor, helping me with X amount of videos a week. And keeping up with all of that, never bouncing a check, never paying anything late, still maintaining, as good credit as you can, being that highly leveraged with debt, still good credit, doing the adulting, I've gone from 120,000 in revolving credit card debt, keeping up with my taxes and all that stuff, to today, as episode 0 is being recorded, the origin story for this podcast, we're at 70,000. If I didn't keep up with my New York State taxes, if I didn't keep up with my compliance stuff, if I wasn't as responsible with other things, maybe I'd be down to nothing or almost nothing. But the more you make in general, the more they take in America and the rest of the world too. And I don't believe there's a higher state in the United States of America when it comes to personal and or corporate business taxes than New York, other than California. So the amount of taxes that I pay out are quite a lot. Do I get a lot of write-offs? Sure, it helps. But then there's something called the AMT, or the alternative minimum tax. You can't surpass it. So I don't want to get into that, but it's a thing. You could go Google it. You could certainly ask your tax expert, who I am not, or your tax attorney, who I am not. My practice has been closed, by the way, to new clientele since December of 2016. I don't need to take on more legal clients, okay? And I'm not a tax attorney anyway. This is like issue spotting. So you can write off plenty, likely, when you speak to your experts for your unique facts and circumstances, but you may not be able to write off everything or 100% of everything. Doing everything I could, spinning all the plates, and eventually getting a child who decided middle school, end of middle school, he just wanted to be homeschooled. And he does much better that way. We have a great school district, but he just does much better that way. Now I've got homeschooling too. Yeah. Yeah. For a couple of years now. Let me tell you something. You know, it's a very full plate. You have to have entrepreneurial productivity in spades to pull everything off, plus productivity in your private life. So it's one of the reasons why I decided to come out with the Side Hustle Apart to Startup podcast. Because I'm still in the trenches with the rest of you. I'm not going to pretend that I have a 7-figure business. Right now, I don't have one. I almost got to multiple 6-figure business while working as an attorney still. I still do legal work in the background while through the years getting thousands of students across the globe, right? Because I have online courses, I sell digital downloads. That's part of the reason why I have a designer, maybe very lightly, but on the regular. People love her stuff. I sell swipe files to help people do their organic content marketing so they can have email templates and social media post templates. You can go to staceystorino.com to check more of that stuff out. Stacey with an EY, Storino, STORI, and is in Nancy, O.com. And you can see the various offerings. We're updating the website, but you can see the various offerings that we have. So through digital downloads, final sale, and courses through the years, I've gotten thousands of students in my database on my email list, and I grew it all from scratch, no help, no connections, born into welfare, remember? And, my business isn't per se for lawyers, so I don't have a million connections for my legal life. But I have to work as a virtual per diem attorney. And then for my long-term clients, and not taking new ones since December 2016, but occasionally I have clientele coming to me for the attorney stuff. So when it comes to income producing stuff, I have my coaching business, my digital download sales business. I have my virtual per diem business, a couple of straight clients I still have, longtime straight clients that I still have. So when I'm talking about being overemployed or having a cup that runneth over with income, yes, but legal compliance and tax too, and, bills as well, personal and professional bills, and trying to pay down $70,000 is still a lot of debt. I'm being fully transparent, but I'm very successful at what I do. And I am who I say I am, and I can do what I say I can do. And I think for a lot of people today, they don't really care about the sizzle. They want the steak. They need to know that somebody not way up on the mountain, somebody that you just aren't, they don't want to hear from somebody way up on the mountain. They want to hear from somebody who, yes, has a proven track record of success. Yes, has an online presence for years. Yes, they've done it and they continue to do it. It being overemployed while growing side hustle to startup levels of success. Guess what, folks? I'm still doing it now. And if you want advice based upon decades of experience, having to run multiple jobs and hustles and doing very darn well at it, I would never have been slowed down. I would never have had revolving debt. We really didn't have revolving debt except for my law school education loans. College was paid off years ago. If it wasn't for my health trials and tribulations over about a 4 or 5 year period, we would have had no credit card debt. But you know what? Who wants to hear from somebody who's either never had real debt or never really struggled with problems? They haven't walked and or are not walking the same path as you. Who needs that person? It's like going to a 16-year-old for dating advice. Come on. You want somebody who has decades of wisdom and experience, which I do, and a lot of great stuff to show for it, which I do, and how to build or even rebuild from scratch or close. So you're pivoting a business, you're not going completely from scratch. I can help you. I've helped plenty of people through pivots. I've helped plenty of people start from scratch or close with their businesses. and take it from side hustle to startup levels of success. I have tons of testimonials on my website. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, strewn throughout. And then on a testimonials page that is actually testimonial pages, because the pages wouldn't load. I have so many people on each page. I can't do like 100 testimonials on one page. So it's like daisy chained together. I am who I say I am. I can do what I say I can do. And I have a lot of sympathy and empathy. If you're like, how am I supposed to eat the whole thing? How am I supposed to have work-life balance just for me? How am I supposed to balance husband, wife, significant other? How am I supposed to balance dependence, everything from infant, toddler to like elder care? And how am I supposed to work a full-time job, a full-time hustle, or a bunch of side hustles and gigs and part-time things, and then launch, relaunch, or pivot, and then finally scale and grow a business? How am I supposed to do it all? I've done it all. This is lap 3. This is version 3.0 for me. So I've been there and back and there and back again. I know what works. And one podcast episode at a time, we'll talk about, like I said earlier, one piece of business news that came up that I think is important. I will avoid all spin, all political spin. We will just get to the meat of the who, what, where, when, why, and how as it affects us when we're doing our business, when we're looking at the economy, when we're doing organic content marketing, and so on. And then we will have a tip to help you with financial offense as an entrepreneur and financial defense as an entrepreneur. And then we will wrap up with any sort of tools or tips or any sort of resources that I think, free, cheap, expensive, depending upon what your needs are, I will share with you something if it's relevant to that podcast episode to help you. And I will go free and cheap as much as I possibly can, because again, I've been there. I've been all the way from welfare, all the way through working my way through college, all the way from working my way through law school, all the way from being overemployed 1.0, 2.0, and now thanks to my health, 3.0. But you know what, folks? Every day above ground is a good day. Don't you forget it. Okay, so make sure you go and pick up your free guide of mine at don'tbeafakeguru.com, all one word. It'll take you seconds to get it. And yes, we're at the end of this podcast, which is an origin story. Like I said, most podcasts will be a bit different than this. But listen, all this talk has me really curious to see what you think about what I've discussed today. What's the good, bad, and the ugly that you care to share, about your situation? What topics do you want me to cover in this podcast? I have the first 150 planned out as best I can. The news will be what it is every day. But I have 150 tips and tricks and techniques to share with you already. But hey, you come first. If you are thinking up something that I haven't thought of yet, or I kind of forgot about through the decades, I'll help you out. That's what this podcast is here for. So, I want you to comment down below if you're watching the video podcast version of this on YouTube, on the Stacey Storino YouTube channel. If not, please navigate over to the Stacey Storino channel on YouTube. Stacey with an EY, Storino, S as in Sam, Tori, N as in Nancy, O. Make sure that you subscribe, click that bell notification and select all so that you can not only get your questions and comments to me on my videos or my live stream replays and all of my podcast episodes, right? Live on YouTube is video podcasts too in the replay. But if you're into that, but I also have plenty of YouTube trainings already for years on my YouTube channel in the form of both long form videos, tutorials, trainings, and such. And also quick snackable bites of advice in my YouTube shorts now too. I always do want to hear from you. So that's the best place to reach out to me is on YouTube right now, to comment, to ask questions, you name it. Let's chat. I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you on YouTube. This has been the Side Hustle to Startup Podcast.